What's up guys? So recently I started leveling a new druid because I wanted to try out a new build, and the leveling was going okay, nothing too special, but then I noticed a comment on one of my videos from Dominic who said that the pulverize aspect Ursine Horror actually wasn't getting scaled down. So I wanted to show you guys here the Ursine Horror. You can see at level 45 it's doing 8,000 damage. Now the way this works is if you go onto a high level character of any class and you have the Ursine Horror unlocked in your codex, you can then apply it onto a low level item and then give the item to your low level character and it won't change. So on my main, he's level 99 and this is how much the Ursine Horror hits for. So I put it on the level 42 axe and then I gave it back to my character. So I kind of wanted to show you guys what I've been doing, how I've been leveling, show you the build, and then go over it afterwards. It's a little bit like my leveling build that I played, except we're using pulverize instead of landslide, mainly because we don't need to fight bosses, because I'm just kind of going through dungeons. This is my favorite hero, using petrify. I love this ultimate for leveling. It pretty much gives you like infinite spirit with the way it's set up. I'll go over all this at the end, but I have like no spirit issues whatsoever. It feels really good, just kind of like running through. All I have on is codex aspects too. You can see I'm taking a lot of damage, but that's because I'm in world tier 2, where normally you wouldn't level on world tier 2 because you're trying to like rush or go fast, but this hits so hard that we don't even have to like think about it. It's actually just insane. Like I said, you don't have to have a druid to do this either. You can do it on any character you have that's at any level. It doesn't have to be level 99, but the higher the level, the more damage it'll be. So keep that in mind. I'll go over the dungeon I'm running and stuff like that as well. But the build has felt really good. Like I said, it's pretty similar to the build I was playing before. Oh, this is my favorite. Look at this. Absolutely melted. I really was like kind of stomaching the druid leveling. It was like, it wasn't too bad, but yeah, it wasn't great either. But once he told me about this and I started doing this, it's felt really nice. So going over the skills, like I said, it's pretty similar to the first build I put out. I really like Wind Shear personally, mainly because of the movement speed. I still want to go quickly when I'm like killing dungeons and stuff like that. So I really like this. It's ranged, and the main thing is it's a storm skill, which you'll see why that's important later. We're using pulverize. We have it maxed out. You want to look for +2 to pulverize on your gloves. If you can get that, +1, until you get a little bit higher level. And then we have the upgrade into overpowered pulverize stuns. This will be important as well. We'll talk about that. I'm kind of tinkering around with some of this stuff, but this has felt pretty good. 3 points into abundance, so I get a little bit more. I think this gets to 14 spirit then with these points. It doesn't feel like super great, but there's not too many other places to put the points. 6% crit against close enemies. This will help us with Earth and Might, which you'll see in a second. Bloodhound, this is really nice because 1, it'll change our form to werewolf, which is also important, but 2, whenever we kill something, we reduce the cooldown by 1 second, and then we gain 20 spirit whenever we use this. So this is one of our main sources of spirit generation plus Wind Shear. Now, we want to alternate Wind Shear and pulverize when we can because we have clarity here. This gets us 6 spirit when you transform into human form. So basically, if you pulverize and then Wind Shear, you'll get 14 spirit with Wind Shear with abundance, and then you'll get 6 more from clarity. So you're getting 20 spirit back just from clicking Wind Shear. Poison Creeper also makes it so that we go into human form. So if you pulverize, then Poison Creeper, you'll get the 6 spirit as well. Poison Creeper is just great. Even though we're not using Landslide for Terra motes, the damage on it is really nice. And I really like it. Also though, it enables one other thing, which we see down here, is Neurotoxin. So poison enemies are slowed. So this makes it so that Poison Creeper immobilizes and slows at the same time. And we're using the Umbral aspect, which I'll go over in a second, which will double up. We'll talk about that. I have Trample. Trample is just great for single target damage. You can really like hit one enemy really hard, like an elite with the upgrade. It's great movement, feels really good. And then I also have 20 spirit on this. So Bloodhound, Trample are getting us big spirit. Our Wind Shear is getting us spirit. Anytime we transform into human form, we get spirit. So for example, if we're not at max spirit, right, we can Trample, gain 20 spirit. We can Bloodhound, gain 20 spirit. And then whenever your form drops to human form after a couple seconds, right there, I just gained 6 more spirit. So if you're running around and you're out of spirit, you can just use Blood Howl, and then whenever you drop form, you would have gained 20 plus 6 spirit, which feels really, really nice. So continuing down, in this side of the tree, this is a really good combo. We put 1 point here, and then we gain go for Safeguard. So we're gaining Fortify. We synergize with Fortify in a couple different ways. First is Stone Guard down here. When you're fortified for over 50% of your life, your Earth skills deal 12 times increased damage. With the Earth Sign Horror aspect, our Pulverize is now Earth. So we're gaining all these Earth advantages and Nature advantages. So we go down here, Nature Magic skills, which are Pulverize is now, you can see here when you mouse over it, it says Earth and then Nature Magic. So we're gaining the Nature Magic properties. We'll do increased damage to elites. We just put in 1 point here. We do apply Vulnerable with Wind Shear, but it's not something that you're constantly trying to do. So it's not too big of a deal to put points into here, but 1, so we can get up here. This is where it's really important. Basically, this says if we use Wind Shear and then Pulverize, we will do 18% increased damage. So it's very, very strong with that. And the whole idea is you want to be kind of going back and forth between your forms, shapeshifting using human, werewolf, and werebear forms. And we see that down here with Quick Shift. When a shapeshifting skill transforms you in a different form, it deals 15% increased damage. So if you're in human form and then you Pulverize, you get that 15% damage. And then if you Wind Shear and then Pulverize again, you're constantly getting that 15% damage. This also works if like you Pulverize and then Blood Howl and then Pulverize, you'll get that shapeshifting as well. And then down here we have Natural Fortitude. So this plus Safeguard helps keep up our Fortify for Stone Guard and Ballistic, which we'll talk about with our aspects as well. Petrify feels absolutely amazing for leveling. I love this ultimate. I almost hope they nerf Grizzly Rage soon because I really like Cataclysm and Petrify. I think they're really fun. Lacerate we don't want to talk about, but Petrify is really, really fun. The upgrade behind it increases the duration by 1 second, but more importantly, killing an enemy affected by Petrify grants 25 spirit. This is really, really nice. Whenever there's a huge group of enemies, you pretty much cast Petrify, and then for those 4 seconds, you just run around pulverizing everything, and you don't run out of spirit because you're constantly killing, and you're just refilling your spirit every time you kill. This feels really nice. Finally, we have Earthen Might. Now, I know this looks like it has a really low chance to proc, but I notice this activating so often. And honestly, the crit chance is nice, but we're more doing it for the spirit. We're trying to get every single little spirit gain we can because it'll just make the build feel so much better while going through the dungeons and clearing. The other thing though is the crit actually doesn't affect the spikes from Ursine Horror. From what I've noticed, it looks like they function like a dot sort of. I haven't seen them crit or overpower. So that is a lot of our damage. Pulverize still does good damage. And again, filling up your spirit just feels really good. So being able to hit as many targets as possible with Pulverize makes this feel solid. So going over the aspects next, there's not too many you need. Obviously the first one we talked about was Ursine Horror. So basically you go on your highest level character, you take an item from your low level character, and then you imprint it on it. So for example, what I did while leveling early on was as soon as I got a rare amulet, I put that in my stash tab because it's shared. I logged on to my main character, I took it out, I imprinted the codex on it, and then I put it back on. You want to use an amulet for quite a bit because you're going to be constantly upgrading your weapon. You totally can do it on your weapon. You know, you probably have lots of materials and gold on your main if you're playing as an alt, right? So you totally can keep doing it on your weapon, but you upgrade your weapon so quickly early on, I don't think it's super worth it. I just got this weapon. I think about level 45, it looks like my weapons are kind of slowing down. So I thought it was about time. My damage was getting a little bit lower too. So I thought it was about time to put it on the weapon, and it's felt really good so far. The other one that I think is really important is Ballistic. When you have Fortify, your Earth skills gain +2 ranks. Now, this is a little confusing, but this is any sort of Fortify. So for example, whenever I shift forms, I gain that little bit of Fortify. If you see, my Pulverize is rank 5, it goes up to rank 7, right? So that's really, really important. Any little bit of Fortify you have will activate this. And then whenever you're playing, you saw we have multiple ways to gain Fortify. You'll always have this up for +2, which is really good damage. Pants aren't anything. The neck, this is where you can see this is where I had the Pulverize until I switched over to my weapon. The other important one is here, Loop of the Umbral. Restores 1 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. Now, 1 isn't much until you realize how many enemies you're crowd controlling at a time through multiple different ways. Remember when I was talking about Poison Creeper before? And we took Neurotoxin? Basically, the way this works is every single monster you hit with Poison Creeper, you immobilize them, will give you 1 spirit. So if you immobilize 10 enemies, you'll get 10 spirit. But because of Neurotoxin, this doubles up and adds a slow to poison, which gives us a second source of crowd control. So if you poison creeper 10 enemies, you actually get 20 spirit back with the minimum rolled umbral. This is also in the codex, so super easy to put on, not hard to get. I actually had this drop, retaliation, but I believe you can get this in the codex as well. This is a solid benefit to fortify. There's some other options you can get in the codex, but none of them felt as needed or as strong. Like you can get Ghostwalker on your boots, and you can possibly switch over to Earthen Bulwark for the Unstoppable, or whenever you trample, you also gain Unstoppable, so this could give you a little bit of move speed. I personally didn't want to constantly be putting on aspects unless it gave me really good damage, like Ballistic. But other than that, you could do something like Shepherd. Like if you're just looking for more damage, you could totally put this on. Poison Creeper counts as one companion, so that would get you something. One thing I did try, here it is, Aspect of the Changeling's Debt. This actually wasn't bad. I was kind of surprised. Damaging a poison enemy with the Werebird skill instantly deals 120% of the poison damage and consumes the poison. We're putting up Poison Creeper. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it is a really nice burst when you walk up into a pack and you pop Poison Creeper and then you pulverize, and pretty much just wipes them out with that plus the spikes from Ursine Horror. But yeah, other than that, feel free to put anything on. Like Expectant technically works. You're using Wind Shear and then Pulverize. Again, a lot of the damage is probably coming from the spikes. Pulverize does do some damage, but if you're increasing core skill damage, you're not getting as much value, so it's not as big of a deal. Taking a look at the Spirit Boons. So the way I did Spirit Boons was a little bit different this time. Pretty much, I waited to go unlock them until I had enough of the offerings to actually get a full unlock. So now that we understand how it works, the whole bottom row, you require 100 at a time to unlock the bottom row, but you can still only choose one from here. And with Obsidian Slam being nerfed, I didn't feel like it was super important to go for this first. Early on, I was leveling as Landslide, so I went for Pack Leader first, but I don't know how important that really was. I think the best thing you could probably do is if you go when you have 75 Spirit Offerings, and then you do the Stronghold, and then you unlock it, I would say put 25 into each of these first. This felt pretty good to me. Like Thorns early on is actually pretty nice. This scales with your level, but you gain Thorns, 5% crit, and whenever you crit, you have a tiny chance to reset your companion skills. I thought that felt really good, just kind of getting 3 boons right off the bat. The important ones that you want to get eventually though are Wariness from Deer, 10% reduced damage is nice. I still have crit here because normally I go crit damage, but we're not playing Landslide this time, so we're not like critting a ton. But you could go for life if you're on like hardcore, or attack speed if you want to feel a little better. I actually been going with Energize while leveling, and I've kind of enjoyed this. You don't really know when it's proccing, but this added up with Earthen Might, Umbral, Bloodhowl, Trample, Clarity, all that. I really don't notice Spirit as an issue when leveling. As long as you're constantly like making sure you Wind Shear in between abilities, it feels really good. Down here, Obsidian Slam, this got nerfed pretty heavily, but it gives you an overpower, which we're constantly killing monsters. And remember, if we overpower, we actually, with our Pulverize, we stun. And if we stun, we gain resource from Umbral. So this whole build is built around like negating and getting rid of the spirit issue. And again, because we're leveling in dungeons, we don't really care about single target too much. So we kind of just want to clear out AoE as easily as possible. I doubled up in Snake and I took Calm Before the Storm. There isn't too many other like super great options. I mean, you could grab like Masochistic and stuff if you're worried about like healing, but this gets you a little more uptime on Petrify, and Petrify just felt great. I really liked pressing it, and I just kind of wanted to press it more often, so I took this one, and I was really happy with it. I know a lot of the lucky hit stuff looks not that great, like you see it up to a 15% chance, up to 10% chance, but trust me, if you get a little bit of lucky hit going on your gear and you're hitting a lot of mobs, it will make a difference, and you will feel it, and I really like it. I wanted to go over where you can get the aspects and which dungeons I've been running. So if you hit Y as a shortcut, if you haven't changed it, you can go to the Codex of Power. You can sort by Show My Class Only, and then you want to look for Offensive, which will be down here, and then you'll find Ursine Horror. This is the most important one, Belfry, Zakara, and Hewazar. So if you haven't unlocked this yet, what you do is, you can see here, I haven't unlocked this one. If you left click on it, it'll actually put a pin on your map, and then you can follow the line if you've discovered the area over to the dungeon, and it'll show you where it is. So that's really important. The other one that I really think is important is the Umbral aspect. There it is. Champion's Demise and Dry Steps. Those are the two most important ones. I would say that Ballistic as well, I think is really, really good damage. It's a utility aspect in the Whispering Pines and Ska's Glen. So those would be the top three I'd say you really want to look to get, because they're pretty easy to get, and they're going to get you a lot of bang for your buck. So the dungeons I've been running, the first one from early on, I got to Kiovashad, and then I just ran all the way over here to Deadman's Dredge, and I was farming this one up until level 15. And then once I got to level 15, I went over to Annika's Claim. There's a stronghold here. So I beat the stronghold, and then I did Annika's Claim for a bit. And that felt pretty good. You can go to Champion's Demise. It's over here somewhere. Oh, I see, it's covered. Champion's Demise. This one was okay. There's a lot of running and stuff. I kind of just stayed in Annika's Claim. I liked this one. And then down here, these dungeons I've been running are level 35 and 40. So I probably wouldn't leave Annika's too much earlier than 35. I think 35 is probably the earliest. I mean, if you're putting Ursine on a two-handed weapon and you're not constantly dying, you could certainly leave earlier. Or if you're on World Tier 1, you know, that's not a big deal. I bumped it up to World Tier 2. I was definitely taking a lot of damage, but I was okay. You go down here. These are the two dungeons I've been running. We have Ruins of Eridu, and we have the Blind Burrows. So between these two, I think the Ruins of Eridu is much better, and I like this one more. This is down in Haywazar in the bottom. You can see down here. So the way you would do this is you'd run the dungeon. You don't have to finish the dungeon. You go to your wheel and you click Leave Dungeon. And then whenever you get out of the dungeon, you click Leave Game and you wait for it to tick down. I'm in town, so it'll automatically log you out. And then you just go back into game and the dungeon will be reset. So if you just want to run one dungeon over and over, Ruins of Eridu would be the better option, I would say. If you want to go back and forth though, that's what I do, just because I like a little bit of change of pace. So I'll just run Ruins of Eridu, and then I just run around the corner over here to Blind Burrows, and then I run Blind Burrows and then just leave dungeon. I don't finish, I don't do the boss. I just do the mobs and then I leave, and then I just run back and forth between those two. The advantage to not logging out and running back and forth between these two is you can actually use a elixir, and you can get the 5% XP bonus. So I think it's probably better to just run Ruins of Eridu over and over, but I didn't really like logging out and losing my elixir and all that, so I just go back and forth because I think that's more fun. I hope this video helped you guys out. Like I said, I was having a little bit of trouble leveling Druid. I kind of hope they don't change this, but there's a chance they will adjust and fix it. Probably set the level of the item that you imprint the codex aspect on to whatever level the character was. But it's been really nice. Druid is like a rough leveler, so leveling a second Druid, I wasn't super looking forward to it. I really wanted to play more builds, but yeah. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys have any tips for anyone else on how to level quicker, or things you've liked, builds you've liked, abilities you liked, let me know. I'm actually really liking this build in general. I kind of really want to make like a shapeshifter build. I've got a very long list of builds that I want to make. So I'm going to try to get this guy leveled up and get some builds out very soon that I think are pretty cool and you guys are really going to like. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.